The princely court of Targoviste was built in 1417 during the reign of Mirka the Elder. It was extended slightly under Vlad Dracul, and the Chindia Tower was added by Vlad Dracula, his son. Targoviste was Dracula's principal residence, and most of his surviving correspondence came from here. It was also where many of Dracula's atrocity stories emanated. Just after taking the throne in 1456, Dracula assembled the Wallachian boyars to this palace. According to a Turkish source, the conversation went something like this. He asked the assembled noblemen, "How many princes have you known?" The latter answered, "Each as much as he knew best. One believed that there had been 30, another 20. Even the youngest thought there had been 7. After answering this question, Dracula said, "Tell me, how do you explain the fact that you have had so many princes in your land? The guilt is entirely due to your shameful intrigues." Dracula's father, Vlad Dracul, had been beheaded, and his brother Mirka had been buried alive, suffocated in the ground. He dealt with the boyars in brutal fashion. Those who could not work were impaled in the courtyard. The rest, dressed in their courtly finery, were taken to Porneri to build the castle as slave labour. In another tale, 2 monks visit the palace and Dracula shows them the view from the Chindia Tower. Below was the usual display of impaled cadavers. One monk appealed to Vlad's ego by saying he was appointed by God to punish the criminals. The other monk was a little too honest and disapproved of Vlad's chosen punishments. He was immediately impaled. This story is actually said in another way, where there are 3 monks and they are actually prisoners in Targoviste, and Vlad takes them up in front of him and asks one of them, "When I die, will I go to heaven?" One replies, "Of course you will, no problem," and gets impaled for being too honest. The other said, "No, you're an evil despot and your soul will go to hell." And he was promptly impaled. The third monk, Brother Jacob, was also asked the same question. It's not known how he answered, but he was let go, and he lived to tell the tale. In an attempt to rid the area of its beggars and vagabonds, Vlad decided to host a feast in Targoviste in their honour. They flocked in with the promise of free food and drink from their beloved prince. As the day drew on, the drunker they became. Eventually, Vlad had had enough, and his plan was set in motion. The doors were barred, and the barn was set alight, roasting alive all inside. Dracula believed that beggars were just thieves, living off the sweat of others, and he thought he was doing everyone a favour. Speaking of thieves, a merchant seeking shelter called upon the palace. Vlad told him to leave his merchandise in the street, as it would be safe. During the night, a thief stole 160 gold ducats from the merchant's cart. Discovering the theft next morning, the merchant informed Vlad, who immediately threatened the city of Targoviste with total destruction if the thief wasn't found. In the meantime, Vlad had had the money replaced out of his own pocket, and he told the merchant to count it. This he did several times. Each time there was 1 extra ducat. Taking the extra coin back to Vlad, he explained the discrepancy. Vlad was very impressed by the merchant's honesty, because if he hadn't given that 1 ducat back, he would have had him impaled, next to the thief. The populace were so terrified of the consequences of crime that stealing was almost unheard of during Vlad's reign. Dracula had a golden goblet placed by the public well in central Targoviste for anyone to use. It remained there for the duration of his reign. Dracula's anti-Ottoman stance came to a head when he refused to give the Sultan his annual tribute. The Sultan sent 2 emissaries to Targoviste to remind Vlad of his vassal status. Dracula asked why they did not take their hats off in his presence. They replied that it was their religious belief that you only bare your head to God. In response to this reply, and also to further enrage the Sultan, he had their turbans nailed to their heads. Relations with the Turks soured quickly after that. The Sultan sent his close friend Hamza Bey with an armed escort to Wallachia to talk, or even better, to capture Dracula. The plan failed, and Hamza Bey with many of his men were captured instead. They were taken to Targoviste. During the 1462 Ottoman invasion, the Sultan's army had crawled and bled its way north towards Targoviste. Just south of the city, on the 17th of June 1462, Dracula and his small army attacked the Ottoman camp during the night. This created sheer terror amongst his enemies. The Sultan himself was almost killed. But pressing on to Targoviste, just outside the city walls, the Ottomans came face to face with Dracula's ultimate horror, the Forest of the Impaled. Some 20,000 corpses, one of whom was Hamza Bey, the Sultan's friend. At the sight of this, the Sultan had had enough. He placed Radu, Vlad's brother, on the throne with enough men to safeguard his position, and he left this cursed land.